Hiya, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, yeah. My name's Emily. I'm going to be interviewing to you today about your experience with CCIR. What's your name?
My name is Ishaanee Roy.
Okay, and what school have you come from?
I'm from Mahindra International School, Pune, India.
In India. Wow. So how did you find out about CCIR?
So, of course, my school was into this and they sent me an email, but I also did personal research, which led me into thinking that which program should I go for, and thus I came to know about CCIR.
Lovely. Okay. And what was your research topic?
My research topic was investigating the MecA gene frequency in MRSA isolates from varied geographical locations.
Okay, how would you explain that to someone who isn't familiar with what that is?
Right. So this is basically investigating the prevalence or the population of MecA in different countries and their respective time. And MecA gene allows bacteria to produce penicillin binding protein 2A, which makes the bacteria resistant to methicillin. And methicillin is a beta lactam antibiotic, which was formerly used to treat Staphylococcus aureus. But as time passed by, and it became resistant to this antibiotic. So thus it's known as methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus or MRSA. And my job was to find out biosamples or isolates which had MecA positive infections and also their country of origin when they were found and the year when it
Okay,
was found.
that's so interesting. And what did you find from that in real terms? Sort of, did you find that one group was more prone to becoming ill, or another group was more effective at fighting off diseases? What did you find?
So my results section was actually broken down into two parts. The first was analyzing the primary and secondary databases along with BLAST, which actually helped me in finding the analysis of the metadata that I collected. So in primary databases, I used the nucleotide sequence of SA, MecA gene, and then I compared their different files like the GenBank file, MBIL or DDBJ, and also their FASTA files. And along with that, I did secondary databases, which allowed me to get further information about the MecA protein. And BLAST basically was useful to find another organism which had similar nucleotide sequence or protein sequence of that of MecA. And my the final analysis, which was the metadata that I collected, it showed like a rapid increase in MecA positive isolates between 2011 to 2022. And this could be due to a majority of reasons, such as sanitation, misuse of drugs, overuse of drugs, and many more. It also showed that Brazil and South Korea had more number of isolates, which were high up to 6. And some hospitals found that the highest isolates were found in like countries such as Brazil with 62%, Venezuela with 57%. And so that's basically what I analyzed in my final product.
Amazing, brilliant. Okay, so how did you find the whole experience of doing the research? What was your first experience with the professor that you were working with?
Oh, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I had Mr. Ash Zirkin, Dr. Ash Zirkin, for my teaching sessions, and he always made the sessions so interactive because he asked us questions, which also encouraged me to ask more doubts. And he also gave us like thinking questions, which made me think out of the box and actually go deep into the analysis of the question. he also was very organized with his PPTs. He always had his resources in place, so I could always go back and refer back to them whenever I needed. And he was very open and accessible whenever I did not hesitate to ask him anything. And for my TA sessions, I had Dr. Martha Marshursiska, and she was very enthusiastic. This was very encouraging for me as a student, and she was very open to any suggestions that we had. So if something was related to the whole topic, but what was not a part of the syllabus of the teaching sessions, she was always enthusiastic to answer any questions based on that. And she also gave us reference of her theses, which acted like a prototype while I was doing my research paper. And that really, really helped. And she was always open to all our comments, and she gave excellent feedback. They were amazing.
That sounds really helpful. That sounds like they really open themselves up to you and let you have access to their thing. So they're actually putting a lot of work into this. Did you find, so did you only communicate by Zoom, or were you able to drop them an email if you had a question? How did you fire back and forth any questions?
Absolutely. I was able to drop them an email whenever I wanted to, whenever I had a doubt, because they were always available on Slack. And as my time zone is different from theirs, they would reply in a few hours whenever they were free. So they wouldn't take too long to respond to them. So that was really helpful for me.
Okay, great. And how did you find it? Did you have other people in your group with you? And how did you find that? Did you have discussions, and how did that inform your research?
Yes. So because there were so many people from different countries, they had different perspectives, that really helped to have like thoughtful deliberations in class, especially as I mentioned, the thinking questions. I was able to understand how the person actually perceives something. And because they had different levels of knowledge about this particular topic of bioinformatics, it was really helpful for me to gain knowledge from them and also give them my perspective about things.
Yeah, so did you learn anything that really stood out to you from your peers?
Yes. So their research paper was about like the different genes or the different things present inside MecA, which was very different from my research paper. So while hearing them, I was able to, identify what they were working on. And it was really helpful for me because I hadn't researched on that. And I was doing something completely different. So that was really fun.
Brilliant. Yeah. And what else were you given to help you with your research as you went along?
So we were given tools, of course, like we were taught how to do different things. For example, I'll talk about BLAST. So BLAST is basically a search tool which is used to like search different sequences and find similarities. As I said, I used it for nucleotide and protein sequences. So Mr. Ash told us everything about it and how to use it, as well as Miss Martha told us about Pathogen Watch, which was a very interesting website. It basically gave you tree diagrams based on the information that you put, and it also showed like a summary of which antibiotics are each samples resistant to, and it was really good to put in my research paper as well, as that added a lot of value to it.
Great, brilliant. So has this made you think that you'd like to go to Cambridge, or you'd like to go to a university and become a scholar? Do you think that's something you'd want to do now?
Yes, absolutely. So because this topic was so new to me, I did not even know that so many topics interested me in this field. And I'm so motivated to work on this because MRSA is such an infectious disease, and it's predicted to have more infections in 2050 compared to cancer. So that's a very concerning topic of the 21st century. So I would really like to go ahead with this and research more on it because I always aim to make a positive social impact, which will help humanity as a whole, or even especially like the underprivileged people, because lack of healthcare causes a lot of issues in especially third world countries. And COVID was such an eye opening outbreak, which actually taught us that the world needs to work as one nation to solve issues and give better healthcare to people. And this issue is just going to aggravate, so we need to do something about it. Thus, I would always like to go forward in this field, especially looking at how good the courses are and
Yeah.
how interesting the topics are.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. And I guess it's like a really relevant topic since COVID. Do you think that influenced your decision? Because obviously, I suppose you're still in school, so some of your school education would have been really affected by those few years.
Yes. So COVID was actually a major part of what affected and got me into this sector because I came to know about healthcare so much more. And this was so unexpected for all of us. So that's when I kind of started thinking about what I can do for this world, what social impact I can make so that this world can become a better place to live in. And I'll consider myself a lucky person if I can even, provide, um, make, make differences in the lives of just a few people, because that will change many lives as a
Yeah,
whole.
brilliant. Yeah, so you're kind of, giving back after what you went through, basically.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone who was considering doing their research with CCIR, but maybe they weren't sure or they weren't sure what to expect or they didn't know if it was worth getting into? What would you say to them?
Right. So as a 10th grader, I understand that there's a lot of workload and they have to manage their time, they have to invest time in this course. But I always believe that the time that you invest in something good will always pay back in the future. And this can just be a good course to think about the different subject or the field that they want to go in the near future. And it'll also give them a reason to think about why we are important and how can like drug discovery or this research that we're doing, how can it help the world? So first of all, this course gives so much independence. So you will actually gain so many skills such as time management, critical thinking, as I gained, like by analyzing so many research papers. So I would really recommend this course, even if they are not, even if they're busy, this time invested will always pay back in the future.
Yeah. And were you sort of guided towards your topic of research, or is it open to any research? What sort of areas would other people perhaps be able to go into?
So we had been given MRSA as the base, but MRSA is like a huge topic, and we
Yeah.
could look at so many things. So I was actually looking at how do biofilms affect this, and how is it affected by livestock. I was like just reading through the papers, and how, as mine said, how geographical locations are affected by
Yeah.
different isolates, what the frequency is, or they could look at the different, basically more of like the biological part of MRSA. So it really
Yeah.
gave a lot of independence to me, and it challenged me to ask more doubts, to think more critically.
Yeah. So you had more independence, but the professors were still there if you had any questions or queries.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you say you're in India at the moment, is that right?
Yes.
So how were they really accommodating to your needs? Because obviously where there's different time zones and you might have school scheduled, how was that?
So when I first got into this program, they asked me to give my preferences of the time that I was available.
Yeah.
And then the schedule, I'm guessing they asked the same to the other my peers. And according to that, they went through the whole document and they sorted a time which would work for all of my peers and the mentors, which was really helpful because for me it was really convenient. It was around 5 p.m. here, and I did not have school that time, and I was well rested after school. Neither
Yeah.
did it affect my extracurriculars as it was on a Saturday and Sunday. So they were really accommodating in that way.
Great. So you now have a published paper as an academic would, is that right?
Yes, I'm going to publish it. It's not published yet, but yes, it's in the process.
And when it is published, where would people be able to find it?
So I believe it's going to be in the students' journal section. And that is where we can get many more inspiring research papers. And it's also going to go through a thorough reviewing process. So that means that we'll be able to rectify any information that we have to add, which is really nice because that is what's going to happen in the future. And if we start from right now, it'll help us grow in that way and make less mistakes in terms of scientific literature.
Yeah, so in a way, it's very much a piece of professional literature.
Right, right.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone who was going to come on this course and this was something that they were aspiring to? How does it feel to have achieved that at such a young age?
It honestly it feels out of the world when I tell people that I'm going to publish my first research paper. I as a person feel so proud, and the others around me also encourage me to do much better in this sector. And this actually gave me a wealth of information on different topics. And now I want to write more of scientific literature based on different topics. So it's just like a starter, to a journey
Yeah.
which is gonna go like a long way.
Do you have anything in particular that you're sort of thinking, this is what I want to look at next?
So I was taking some courses on AI because it's so prominent these days, and I was thinking of incorporating AI with bioinformatics. Of course, there's technology along with bioinformatics, but AI is like taking over the world right now. And the only way we can overcome that, as for me, is by actually using it to enhance our research and to give uh, better development. It'll help us develop our own health sector as well as our research sector. So we need to use it to our advantage rather than to our disadvantage.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like it's something that's going to be very much part of, I mean, it's already is for many people, but a very big part of our lives very soon. Is there anything else you'd want to say to someone who was thinking of applying to this course? Anything about your experience and what you found and how you were treated by the professors? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yes. So I would really recommend this course. Of course, there will be challenges. I had, like first, it was difficult for me to grasp the information, but because everything was provided to me by my professors, I had to just go thoroughly towards it and check the external material which was there. I was also very I did not hesitate to ask doubts because the mentors were so open, and also that this field was so interesting. And if I ever had doubts, the TA sessions were always helpful to, clearing those doubts or just knowing more about something that we wouldn't cover in the teaching sessions. And yes, of course, as I said, writing the research paper is one of the best feelings in the world. And your mentors are always there to help you, to guide you, and give you valuable feedback, which will not hinder your independent work, but will also support you while you need it.
Yeah, so it's like a middle ground.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, well, congratulations on publishing your paper. It's been so lovely to talk to you. And thank you for sharing everything about your experience.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all right. Yeah, best of luck with all of your studies, and perhaps I'll read something of yours in a few years' time.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Bye-bye.